I don't need my poncho on this time. This is a pretty light rain compared to what we have. And it doesn't look like we've got... What's going on, everyone? I'm Brandon, and welcome to the Greening the Desert project. Super cool to see everything actually start filling up and getting an idea of a lot of these different spots that we don't have earthworks yet, but seeing how the water is flowing in a lot of spots, we'll be able to have a better idea and another better game plan, or a more improved game plan now, of a lot of these different spots on the type of earthwork that we will do for slowing it down and getting it to soak in our soil more. And that's even the thing with the soakage, that we do have that advantage that we have really sandy soil here. So it's probably the easiest soil, or dirt you could say, to start with, because it's just going to take a good amount of organic material to start making it more spongy. By the time I actually started walking back up the hill from looking at everything, all the different pockets and pools of water that we had, everything's already drained out. So that was in a matter of maybe 20 minutes that we are able to drain a good majority of that water, even though it was pooling. So it's just the evidence for what we kind of can expect here and the conditions that we're dealing with. So, and that's where it just leads to that we need more organic material, and we need to create more of a sponge for our soil so that it's absorbing and retaining more of the moisture, as opposed to quickly draining through it and hitting a hard pan layer and washing away, essentially. These are definitely the rains that I've been looking forward to, so that we can get that better idea of how our earthworks are going to work and all the improvements that we will need to make around here, especially because not everything is 100%. We've sketched out a lot of outlines, and we've kind of done a rough draft, you could say, of a lot of our earthworks and our rainwater harvesting techniques here. So it's just being able to see everything in action that we're going to be able to further make improvements and solidify more of the design of a lot of our earthworks, and where our exit points will be, and how everything will interconnect with itself throughout our land. Looks like we're just going to get a little bit of drizzle with this next storm. I don't need my poncho on this time. This is a pretty light rain. Doesn't look like we've got any more coming after this, I don't think. Since this is a lighter rain, I think I'll start laying down some more straw and more compost and maybe some cover crop seed. So since I've seen the last couple storms, all the water coming down this part, I don't even need a level gauge or anything. We're just gonna make a rock check dam right here. This will be 3 storms in a row, back to back to back. Drizzling down a little bit more than the second storm. It's awesome, we've got so much water. You can see how quickly everything dried up, even all the pooled water. I think that was maybe hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And we finally got a good amount of that pit drained, and that one's dried, or drained in. Beautiful rainbow to end the rainstorm. You can see that little basin soaked in all that water. Look how dry. Well, everything's pretty moist, but the soil sucked it all up. So that is just a testament that we do have pretty good water penetration. We do have a caliche layer, or a calcium carbonate layer. Creates basically a hard pan. So that's a little bit of the reason even why we end up getting the sheet flow here, because the water is able to penetrate, but it's because of that hard pan or probably even rock shelves along here that are also aiding in the creation of the sheet flows that's going on here. I was just looking at a jackrabbit there. See him? Just can see him. There he goes. Oh, there's two of them. Nice. I just saw the one. So this area is just going to end up being probably a good stack of basins, I think, for being the edge of our property and the corner, and it being kind of the pocket corner where most of the water is flowing to. And when we look at kind of the contour of our property, just the dips and the lows and the highs that we have, everything for the most part is flowing eventually this way. And where we actually have made camp, that's kind of the peak spot. So water either flows off to one side or the other. And so we have this kind of split on the property, which I've kind of explained, but it is also hard to show in the landscape itself on camera. But this is essentially our little hump here, the beginning of it that goes to our campsite. So a lot of water essentially flows from the top and down this way and off the property. And then it's this whole other side of the property where the water flows all this way. A special thanks to our Green Guardian YouTube and Patreon members. Really appreciate you guys contributing and helping us green this desert. And remember, you can support the Greening the Desert project by joining our Green Guardians YouTube and Patreon membership. And you can also send us a super thanks. So those last two storms that we got after the first big one really didn't amount to too much, but we did end up with about 4/10 of an inch, so almost a half an inch from all three of those storms combined. And it seems like as we've progressed through the monsoon season here, we've actually started getting more and more rain every time it does rain. It's almost like everything's leading up to this big finale or something towards the end of the season here. With these monsoon storms starting to hit us a little bit more, I've had this crazy idea that I think is going to make building a little bit quicker. I think it's been about 2 months or so since I've actually worked on the rammed earth wall, and that's partially been with the absence of rainwater up here. We actually, probably about a month back, had used up what we had from rain catchment over the winter actually in our basin, but we had run out of all that water, and a lot of that water was contributing to building up the rammed earth wall, along with watering animals and ourselves too. So it's pretty amazing to see how long that water in that basin lasted for pretty much everything around here. And it's something to even consider for the future. So we won't be using as much water in the future because we'll be done with a lot of the rammed earth, a lot of these concrete projects and stuff. We'll still have a little bit of projects where we'll need more water, but the main project, that's taken up at least a good majority of the water for the build. So that'll be eliminated in the future so that we can know for our basin that it will actually last that much longer for us when it is filled up. That basin over on the far side, south side here, that actually can hold just about 14,000 gallons. And I don't think that was technically full all the way from over winter last year. So I can't fully say exactly how much we had. I know it wasn't at peak fullness, so it wasn't the full 14,000, but you could consider it was probably in the range of 7,000 to 10,000 gallons, I think. So it was actually with the absence of the water, having used all of our rainwater up that we had caught, it got me actually thinking, now that we're actually getting more of these monsoon storms, and it seems like the amount of rain we're getting seems to be picking up a little bit. As for the last few months since we ran out of the rainwater, we actually have been getting water trucked in. So when we're thinking about the realities of homesteading, that is an aspect that when we don't know the full calculation of how much rainwater we need to catch to last us for an extended amount of time, it's also just in preparing for the future, I think, because in our case at least, we're just getting these storms and getting a significant amount of rain with it too. All right. Let's get to the gabion baskets here that I was talking about. So the crazy plan that I had in mind is, because we're getting more significant rain, let's go ahead and just dry pour a lot of our sifted stuff into the gabion baskets themselves. So with the significant rain, that's where I'm thinking we're gonna just take the dry sifted stuff and we're just gonna slowly layer it in the basket, basically, is my crazy idea here. But here's the catch with it though, is that it's in anticipation of rain and hoping that we get a significant amount of rain. This experiment's only gonna work if we can kind of anticipate when we're gonna get rain and how much rain we are going to get. So I think this is gonna be an experiment just to see how things turn out. And I think it's just gonna be something to consider for if we get more rain and kind of anticipating the heavier amounts of rain that we'll get, hopefully, so that this experiment actually works. I'll continue mixing water and the sifted dirt, and we'll continue ramming the earth with that mixture. And then I actually have a little idea in case we dry pour some of this and we don't get good rain. I've got a little plan.